Welcome back. I'm back. You're back. Hey, we back. Welcome everyone to this episode on the Ultimate Sports TV, guys. I cannot tell you how excited I am that football is back, everyone. So excited to be doing these week 1 NFL predictions. It just feels so right and it feels about time. Just can't believe the season is back, everyone. Before I get into my week 1 NFL season predictions, a lot of them may surprise you. Want to make sure you go ahead, subscribe to the Ultimate Sports TV, like this video for me, share this video and YouTube channel. Then comment down below who you think will have the best upset or the most surprising upset of the week 1 matchups, everyone. Who do you think will make the biggest statement in week 1, everyone? I'll get to that question in the end, but now let's get to these predictions, everyone. We're going to start with the AFC and NFC category. I'm going to take the Panthers versus the Jets. Look, I just think this could come down to who makes the most plays. You have Zach Wilson, who's learning a new system and is going to have to take time to mesh with his coach, his system, and his team. Same thing for Sam Darnold with a new head coach coming from New York. So this is really a revenge game for him. I think Sam Darnold is going to be motivated, and I think Zach Wilson is going to be motivated in his first game with a lot of doubters. But look, I think the Panthers are going to be able to make more plays than the Jets, mainly because of who they have on their roster, but really the matchup. I don't really like the Jets secondary. Their pass rush without Carl Lawson may not be the best this year. And look, the Panthers' offensive line is not the best, so you want to get pressure on them, but I don't think I'm going to see a lot of it out of the Jets in this game. And look, I think Sam Darnold is going to make a statement in this game, and I think he's going to be able to make some good throws over this Jets secondary with the weapons that he has with Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and Christian McCaffrey. I just think it comes down to who can make the most plays on offense and defense. Their defense, no slouch. I think it's going to be really, really good this year. I think they'll get some pressure with Brian Burns, Derek Brown, and Hassan Reddick up front. Their secondary is looking really good to me. Look, I just think they're going to be able to make more plays versus the Jets in this game. I'll take them over the Jets. All right, in this next one, we'll go to the Bills and Steelers. I'm going to pick the Bills in this one, but I think this game is going to be a shootout. I do think this game is going to be close. I don't think Pittsburgh is going to finish under 500 this year. They're still going to put in a fight with every team in the AFC and who they're playing in the NFC. But ultimately, I think this game could come down to who can make the better pass plays. Now, look, both of these teams I don't think will really be able to run the ball. One, because I don't think the Bills have the playmakers to do it. Two, for the Steelers, I just don't think they have the offensive line to do it when you have Ed Oliver and a couple other guys on the Bills' defensive front. So I don't think it's going to be easy for them to run the ball. I don't think Najee Harris is going to have a terrible day. I expect him to have about 60, 70 yards, but I don't think the run game is really going to come into play for the Steelers in this game just because their offensive line has to learn how to mesh with a lot of new pieces, but also it's just not going to be very good. So it's going to have to come down to who makes the most plays in the passing game, and I have to give that to the team who has the better offensive line and the better quarterback in Josh Allen. I just think they can make more plays in the passing game and more plays in pass defense. I think that Bills pass defense is going to be one of the best in the league again. I think they'll make plays versus Ben Roethlisberger. That offensive line is not going to give them much time, and I think that's to the Bills secondary's advantage. I don't think we'll see too many deep shots because that offensive line will not give Ben a lot of time. When I'm looking at it, I just think Josh Allen is the quarterback who's going to make more plays, and he's the quarterback I trust more, especially versus the Steelers secondary that really lost a lot of pieces. So I'll take the Bills over the Steelers in this one. Monday Night Football, Ravens versus Raiders. I'm going to take the Ravens in this one. Look, I've said it before. This year, teams are going to be able to do to the Raiders what they want to do to other teams, and that's run the football. That's exactly what the Ravens are going to do. I don't see the Raiders' run defense improving anymore this year. When you add Yannick Ngakoue, that's more to the pass rush. He's not a great run defender, and he kind of makes your run defense kind of worse, and he's not a guy you want other teams running towards, and that's what the Ravens are going to do. They had Yannick Ngakoue last year. They know what to do with them. I just don't expect for a team in the Ravens that likes to run the ball so much, and Gus Edwards is going to have an amazing year. I just don't expect for the Raiders to really have an answer for that. And when the Ravens need to throw the ball, I think they'll be able to do it versus the secondary and the Raiders. Ultimately, this Baltimore Ravens defense will be able to do enough, especially versus this Raiders offensive line, which I don't really expect to make too much flash this year. I'll take the Ravens in this one because I think they'll be able to beat the Raiders at what they want to do to the Ravens, and that's run the football. And the Ravens are going to be able to do that better because they can do it efficiently and effectively and in an elite way, but also the Raiders' run defense, I don't really expect it to be all that much. And the Raiders' offensive line, I don't expect it to be good. That's going to affect their run game. And look, they're playing versus a Ravens defensive line, which is very well coached to play the run. So I'll take the Ravens in this game. Jaguars versus Texans, I'll take the Jaguars. Look, the Texans' depth chart really depleted to me. I think Trevor Lawrence in his first game will shine versus a defense that's not all that great. I'll take the Jaguars in this one. I think they're the better team in this one. And when you have two teams that I think are going to struggle this year, I'm just going to take the better team. Miami versus New England. I think Mac Jones in his first start might have a hard time versus this Miami Dolphins defense. It's still going to be a good defense. The secondary is still going to be one of the best in the league. They'll be able to do some things versus the run. And look, I do think the Patriots will be able to run the ball this year with Damian Harris, but will they be able to do it consistently versus good run defenses? That I do not know. With Tua and the offense, I think that offensive line is a tad bit improved. I don't think pass rush will get to Tua too much, but I do think it could come down to who can make the most offensive plays. When I look at the offensive side of the ball for the Dolphins, they have the playmakers on the skill positions to do that more than Mac Jones and the Patriots offense does. So I'll take the Dolphins in this first one, also knowing that, hey, Mac Jones, new team, you're going to have a rough start when you really don't have the best of outside weapons. I'll take the Dolphins in that one over the Patriots. Browns versus Chiefs. I'm going to take an upset here. I'm going to take the Browns to start the season off 1-0 and hand the Chiefs a loss. And really, Patrick Mahomes' first loss in September. I think really when you have safeties that the Browns do in that secondary, I don't think it'll take long for their defense to mesh. And I think they could immediately make plays in week one. And I do like how they are coached. I look at last year when Ronnie Harrison was out there on the field. And look, communication was a really hard thing for the Browns last year. When Ronnie Harrison, their safety, was out on the field, communication just looked way better. And although they didn't have all the playmakers they needed last year, communication was better when a smart green dot safety was on the field. And they started to make plays more. When you have more playmakers like the Browns doing that secondary with John Johnson, Ronnie Harrison, and Anthony Walker as amazing guys to help your communication and your chemistry, I think that's really good for the Browns secondary. And just like they did last year, they'll be able to get physical with Patrick Mahomes. I think they'll really be able to get pressure on him, and that's going to disrupt the Chiefs' offense. They're not going to shut down the Chiefs' offense, but they're going to be able to make plays. And ultimately, what I think this game comes down to is the Browns really having a ball control offense. They'll be able to keep the ball out of the Chiefs' hands. And when I look at the first matchup between the Raiders and the Chiefs last year, that's how the Raiders won. They were able to keep the ball out of the Chiefs' hands, and when they needed to in the pass game, they made plays. And the Raiders didn't even have the best of defense last year. When I look at the Browns, they have all of that, including a good defense. Baker Mayfield is going to be massively better this year, and everything that the Browns were missing in the playoff game last year, they have this year. A deep threat in Odell, a better pass game. I think a run game that'll get going more early, especially because the Chiefs will be missing Willie Gay, and that's not good for their run defense. They may also be missing Tyrann Mathieu, so that's not going to be good for their secondary. I think the Browns will be able to make plays everywhere, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And when it comes to defense, they'll make plays when they need to make plays. I got the Browns winning over the Chiefs at 425 on Sunday, and I think that'll be the upset of the week. Cardinals versus Titans. I'm going to take the Titans here. Look, Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, they're going to open up the run game, but ultimately Derrick Henry is going to open up the pass game, and I think that's what we could see in this game. And I just really don't believe in the secondary of the Cardinals, so I think Julio Jones and A.J. Brown could really show out in their first game, but also we cannot forget about Derrick Henry. You have Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt on this defensive line for the Cardinals. And look, they're going to sell out to stop the run, but you can't forget that Julio Jones and A.J. Brown are on the field. And I really like the Titans offense versus the Cardinals defense in this one. But look, the Titans defense isn't all that great either. And the Cardinals offense could be better this year, especially with the improvements they made on the offensive line. But I do think the Titans offense will be able to make more plays and keep the Cardinals offense off the field just because they have a playmaker in Derrick Henry and more playmakers in the passing game than the Cardinals do. So I'll take the Titans over the Cardinals in the first matchup. I'll take the Vikings over the Bengals. They'll be able to get pressure on that offensive line. It wasn't very improved. They have a bunch of journeymen on it for the Bengals. Look, they'll be able to get pressure on Joe Burrow. That secondary is no slouch. They added Patrick Peterson to it. So look, I think the main disruptor to this Bengals offense is pressure. Danielle Hunter, Sheldon Richardson, and all the other guys on that defensive line will be able to get it versus the Bengals. And I think that offense of the Vikings will have success versus the Bengals defense that won't get much pressure. I don't think will be great at stopping the run. And that's what the Vikings do best. And that's run the ball with Dalvin Cook. I got the Vikings over the Bengals in this one. I'm going to take an upset here. I'm going to take the Colts over the Seahawks. Look, the Seahawks defense, once again this year, isn't going to be great or good. I think it's probably going to be one of the worst in the league, and I think the Colts are going to take advantage of that. I think it's going to be a very, very close game, but when it comes all down to it, I think the Colts defense will be able to make stops versus the Seahawks passing game. I at first had the Seahawks winning this game just because I trusted their offensive passing game more than I did the Colts, but when I looked at the Colts, they can stop the Seahawks passing game. And when you have a defense like the Seahawks do, the Colts are going to be able to control the ball over you. Carson Wentz has familiarity with the system, so it's going to be a good game for him, especially versus a secondary in the Seahawks that's not looking good on paper either. So the Colts are going to be able to control the ball, but also when they need to, make plays downfield in the pass game. And the Seahawks ultimately, look, the Colts defense is going to be able to get stops versus them. I'll take the Seahawks over the Colts in a very, very close game just because I think the Seattle Seahawks pass offense is just good enough to make this a close game and help out their defense. Broncos versus Giants. I think the Broncos on the defense are going to really be able to disrupt the Giants. I think pressure versus that atrocious Giants offensive line is really going to be able to get to Daniel Jones and that Broncos run game. And if you can stop the run game for the Giants, you ultimately eliminate Daniel Jones. Look, Saquon is back, but he's coming off ACL. Can he trust it the first week? That's my concern. We've seen in the past when that run game has been shut down for the Giants, where do they go? And I especially trust anyone in the league, especially the Broncos, to stop the run pretty well. And I like that secondary versus Daniel Jones when they make it hard on the run game. And look, that Giants defense is good too, but ultimately I think the Broncos have enough playmakers on offense given what we've seen them do this offseason and what they've already had. I'll take the Broncos and Teddy Bridgewater in this one in a close game. I also take the Washington football team over the Chargers. I think that Washington football team defense is going to give the Chargers a hard time on offense. I think the Chargers are going to be a good team this year, but versus this Washington football team defense where they have a good secondary and can get pressure versus an offensive line that's trying to mesh, and that's one of the hardest spots to mesh at in the NFL in terms of chemistry. It'll be good later in the season, but when you're going up against the Washington football team's defensive line the first week, that's a really, really tough task, and I think their defense will really disrupt the Chargers offense. And then when we look at the flip side, Washington football team's offense versus the Chargers offense, I'll take the Washington football team's offense there. They're going to be able to run the ball, and they're going to be able to pass the ball with a good offensive line. While I think the Chargers secondary will get better, I think ultimately the Washington football team will be able to run the ball to keep the Chargers off the field, and they'll play complementary football because I think that defense will be so disruptive towards the Chargers in this game. So I'll take the Washington football team at home over the Chargers in game one. I'll take LA over the Bears. Look, when you're starting Andy Dalton versus a really great LA Rams defense, I'm not going to trust them, especially with their lack of guys in that receiving core other than Allen Robinson. We'll see what Darnell Mooney can do this year, but that offensive line is just not good. That's not a good problem to have when you're playing Aaron Donald. So I think the LA Rams defense is going to be really disruptive towards the Chicago Bears offense, especially because of the quarterback and the offensive line. But also when we look at the offensive side of the ball for the Rams, Yes, Jared Goff is in a new system, but look, he's going to be able to pass all over that Chicago Bears secondary because of the weapons that he has, and because I think that run game will be able to get going a little bit in this game. I like the two running backs that the Rams have and the offensive line that they're running behind, just because the Bears won't be able to make enough plays on offense, and I think the Rams passing game will prevail over the Bears pass defense. I think the Rams win this one. I think by a lot. I think they'll win on Sunday night versus the Bears. I'll take the Packers over the Saints. I think the Packers offense will do their thing, and I think they'll outplay the Saints offense, which I think it could turn out to who makes more plays on offense. And I think that'll be the Packers offense, especially because the Saints offense does not have the receivers they need to move the ball down the field. They will be able to run the ball, and I think their defense is really good. But when you have a defense like the Packers do that is no slouch and is really good to play versus a team in offense in the Saints that really don't have a passing game with the receivers in week one, I trust the Packers in this game. I think it'll be a close game because I love the Saints defense, and I think they'll be able to limit some points to the Packers, but ultimately, when it comes down to it, I don't think the Saints will be able to make enough plays versus the Packers offense. And it'll be back and forth at times because the Saints defense will be good and the Saints offense won't be making enough plays versus the Packers defense. And I think the Saints defense will limit the Packers offense at times, but ultimately, it'll come down to who can make the most plays on offense, and I just don't think the Saints can touch the Packers offense. 49ers versus Lions, this is an easy one. I'll take the 49ers over the Lions in this one. The Lions, look, they don't have the defense. I think the 49ers are going to be able to run on them and pass on them all day. I don't like that offense in Detroit. They don't have any good receivers for Jared Goff to throw to, and that doesn't help early in the season when you're trying to learn a new system with a new head coach in Dan Campbell. 49ers have it all figured out on offense and defense. I'll take them in a blowout over the Lions on Sunday. Thursday night football, Cowboys versus Bucs. I'll take the Bucs in this one. Look, the Cowboys offensive line is going to be missing Zach Martin. That's a big loss. I don't think they'll be able to run the ball all that well. I don't think they'll be atrocious at it, but they won't run it to the efficiency and effectiveness that they will need to. And they'll need it, especially because Zach Martin is gone, and that's going to affect the pass protection for the Cowboys, and that's going to disrupt how Dak Prescott can throw the ball, especially coming off of an injury. Look, I think this game could get closer because I think the Cowboys pass rush will be able to do some things, and I think the Cowboys complementary offense will be able to do some things. I think it'll be probably like a 7-point game, but ultimately, I think the Bucs prevail in this one. Look, I think their pass game will be able to prevail over the Cowboys' pass defense, and that defense will really be able to get after that Cowboys offensive line. I'll take the Bucs over the Cowboys as the opener in the season. And now predicting this last game, Eagles versus Falcons. I'll take the Eagles in this one. I trust the Eagles over the Falcons defense. And look, I think they'll be able to do a lot of things over it, especially in the pass game. And if they need to get on the run game with Miles Sanders, they can do that too, because I don't really expect any part of the Falcons defense to be that great this year. And I don't foresee it changing in week one. And then when we look at the flip side, Falcons offense versus the Eagles defense, I think what the Falcons want to do this year especially is run the ball. But when you don't have a good offensive line and you have Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, and Derek Barnett up front on the other team, it's going to be hard to do what you want to do and run the ball. So really, I just think Eagles are going to make more offensive plays because the Falcons defense is not that good. So I'll take the Eagles over the Falcons, guys. But these are my week one NFL predictions, guys. This was fun. Glad we get back to this, everyone. Super excited for week one. Tell me your predictions for every game or your favorite game down in the comment section below, everyone. Other than that, this is Malik Hicks, a.k.a. The Ranker, the Ultimate Sports TV, signing off. Peace out, and I'll see you in my next one.